been another big day ahead of the election. Today, Clive Palmer has announced he's backing a party called the Trumpet of Patriots. He's going to be spending hundreds of thousands into the millions of dollars in this campaign, running candidates in most of the seats and in the Senate as well, and most of the lower house. He's even saying they're aiming to run candidates in all seats. Let's bring in my colleague Andrew Clennell. Andrew, I want to talk to you about the reaction to the rate cut yesterday, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, Palmer, this is a big spanner in the works potentially. A lot of dollars, a lot of eyeballs. If you get 3, 4, 5% in a seat, depending on the way the preferences flow, it could be somewhat of a spoiler.
Yeah, the preferences will make a difference, and they'll make a difference in marginals, outer suburban marginals. And usually not good news for the Labor Party, let's face it. And we see a lot of people thinking more about independence, but you wouldn't expect him to win so many Senate seats. It really is about the preferences. Bear in mind, though, Kieran, Palmer United Party, 55% traditionally of the preferences flew to the coalition, whereas the Greens to Labor is generally between 70 and 90. 90 if on a how to vote ticket suggests that you preference Labor, 70 otherwise. So there's just a more disciplined preference flow there. But I do think it is a spanner in the works and not welcome news for the Labor Party. Peter Dutton's probably a bit happier with it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's just another distraction in the campaign. It adds another complexity to all of that. We'll have more on that story, the Trumpet of Patriots, in a moment. The big story this week so far has been the rate cut. What have you made of the reaction, both from the government and from the opposition?
Well, Kieran, for the first time in a long time, Peter Dutton is under some pressure, and certainly it's been Anthony Albanese up until now under pressure over the cost of living issue, and many would say, given the price rises in groceries, insurance and everything else, and the fact rents and mortgage, that should be the case, even though a lot of this is due to global factors. And there's a scepticism in the electorate that Peter Dutton could do any better. And perhaps that's why Peter Dutton is only ahead 51-49 in this contest, where traditionally if there was this sort of cost of living crunch, this sort of inflation and high rates, you would expect him to be far further ahead. And that is the problem for Mr Dutton as I see it going forward. First of all, in terms of handling this week, he needs to change the subject. And he needs some policy. We are probably 7 weeks away from the election, Kieran, and you can't point to much opposition policy. You can 7 federal government nuclear power plants starting in about 10 years' time. Yes, that is a big policy. Many are sceptical that would ever see the light of day. But what else is there? He continues to talk, as he did in the Sunday Agenda interview with me, about the possibility, once he sees the budget numbers, of promising tax cuts. Why isn't that policy out there at the moment? Where is the cost of living plan? And now that he believes that there will not be a budget, and I'm also of that view that we will have an election before a budget, he doesn't need to wait for any sort of budget reply speech. So Anthony Albanese, sensing this for the first time, as I say, not just weeks, months, had a real hot crack at Peter Dutton a short time ago. We understand, by the way, we're about to hear from Peter Dutton over the next hour, but this is what the Prime Minister had to say.
The only people that I've seen disappointed by the Reserve Bank governor is, well, I don't know what Peter Dutton thinks because no one's seen him since the announcement, but Angus Taylor looked like someone had run over his cat in the driveway yesterday. He looked so disappointed, and they continue to talk Australia down.
Well, there's a pretty clear area where Peter Dutton could be on the front foot, and it affects many marginal seats. It's on the train strike. It's the union in Sydney holding the New South Wales Labor government hostage, and up until this point, the Prime Minister failing to intervene. Now, we're expecting a Fair Work Commission judgment or ruling in relation to this. That could change the game on it. But surely there's an argument when he's looking to overhaul industrial relations laws, Peter Dutton, that this is an argument for reform of the Fair Work Commission and the laws. Only Micaiah Cash, really, the shadow spokesman's been out in the past few days talking about this. If there's one area where he could get some mileage and change the subject, surely it's this. The Prime Minister was on the defensive about it today.
Commuters in New South Wales have had enough. Is it time for your government to step in to end this rail chaos?
Well, it's time that the rail unions settled this dispute with the Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns. They were very close to an agreement, and some thought there was an agreement reached on the weekend. I call upon the union to recognise that they will not have public support if they are disrupting people going about their business.
Kieran, I've got to say, again, it could just be 7 weeks. It could just be April 5 where the election is. There won't be an election call over the next week till Sunday. After that, it's anyone's guess. The following Sunday, or perhaps even the following Friday, is certainly up for grabs if the PM decides he doesn't want to do a budget. And you have to question, where is the policy from the opposition? Because the government now seem to be getting into a pre-election stride. They seem to have an event every day, a policy every couple of days. Where is that sort of coordination from the opposition? They don't want to get too arrogant and be caught napping here just because they're ahead in the polls.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I guess the counter to that is, are they going to go ultra small target, Andrew, and make the focus all on the government, all on the insurance premiums, the groceries, the mortgages?
If you go ultra small target and it's 51-49, history suggests you don't win. That's what I would say. That would be my analysis of that, Kieran. If they were 53-47, I'd be going small target all day long. And of course, Anthony Albanese went small target, but that was after when he was ahead 55-45 in 2022 and after 9 years of coalition rule. I had one shadow frontbencher say to me last year when I said, why on earth are you doing the nuclear plan? They said, well, you can't beat a government in one term without some bold policy. I'm not talking Bill Short and bold here, Kieran, but I am saying Peter Dutton needs to be out there saying what he stands for, other than saying that Anthony Albanese is weak.
Andrew, talk to you soon. Appreciate that.